we get to your regularly scheduled program, real quick, I just want to announce the winner of the Altered TCG Starter Decks. Congratulations to Logan Stillman. That's right, congratulations, Logan. You are the winner of not one, but two Altered TCG Starter Decks. Please, real quick, if you can, reach out to me via Instagram. There'll be a link down below in the description box, or reach out to me via email so I can get you your information and send you your Altered TCG Starter Decks. Again, congratulations, Logan Stillman. Now, on with the video. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to TCG Madness. In today's video, I have another Altered TCG deck build for you guys. So we already went through all of the starter deck heroes. So now let's dive into the other heroes that Altered TCG has to offer. We're going to be starting with Bravos first, and today's deck build is a Bassira boost deck build. This deck is a lot of fun. It's pretty straightforward. I think you guys will enjoy it. But before we go any further, if you guys can do me the really big favor right now, please hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to also comment down below if you guys agree or disagree with anything of my analysis, with the deck build itself. Maybe I missed something. Maybe you guys think that something should be added, taken out, addition by subtraction, all that kind of stuff. Please, I want to hear from you guys. Comment down below. I really do appreciate when you guys do comment. We kind of get to go back and forth. Maybe you guys disagree on certain things. I know, like, one of the deck builds you guys didn't agree with, like the Kraken's Wrath that I removed. Perfectly fine. I like to hear from you guys. Again, don't forget, when I do these deck builds, we're also leaning more into the fun than we are into the competitive side of things, because at least with my play group, among my play group, we kind of just aim for a little more fun, a little more less competitive, and a little more, I guess, janky would be a good word for deck builds. So again, if you guys don't think this is like the really maxed out tier competitive deck build, you guys really think I'm missing something that's very crucial, comment down below, because you never know if somebody else is watching this video and they're probably thinking the same thing. Maybe you guys are. Again, I lean a little more on the fun side than I do competitive, but I do think I did do a proper deck build here. But again, feel free to comment down below if you agree or disagree with anything that I have to say. So with this deck build, we're going to be starting off with the hero itself. So let's go ahead and look at the hero itself. This is Bassira and Kaizamon, an absolute incredibly cool looking hero from Bravos. It does have your traditional 2 cards in your reserve, 2 cards as your landmark, pretty straightforward. But this ability that I really like, and this is why it's a Bassira boost deck build. The ability down here on the hero has, when a character you control gains 1 or more boost, you may exhaust me to have target character gain 1 boost. Pretty straightforward, right? You boost something, then tap your hero and gain an additional boost. We do like that. Pretty straightforward. It's a great deck. So let's get actually into the meat and potatoes of the deck. You guys can already see, if you want to pause your screen right now, you can see how it's already broken down. We got 24 characters, 9 spells, 6 permanents. I'll get into the stats at the end of this deck. And then at the very end, too, I'll also show you guys 3 unique cards, or 3 unique examples of cards that maybe you want to slide in there, because I don't know what your unique situation is, which is why you guys can see right here, we don't have any unique cards in this current deck build, because I just don't know what your situation is. So I'll at least give you guys 3 good examples of unique cards that maybe if you have something that's very similar to what I'm going to show you, slide this into the deck and probably give it some much needed firepower. Because the uniques really make the deck hum, and that's like your trump card. So just know that. That's why it's not in this current build, because I just don't know what your situation looks like. So let's go ahead and start off with the actual cards itself, starting off with the rare Ratatasker. We have 3 copies. He's a 1/3. When you play him out of your hand, he costs 1. When you play out of reserve, he costs 3. But we do love that reserve ability right there. Play him out of reserve, he gains 3 boost right off the bat. That is really, really, really good. 3 boost means you're going to play him for 3 out of your reserve, and he's going to be a 4/4/4. You tap your hero, maybe you give him another boost. That's a 5/5/5 for a 3-drop. That is pretty strong. I like Ratatasker. I also like that he's just a 1 cost out of your hand, so you can play him out of your hand cheap. Then he goes right into your reserve, which is excellent. The other card we have is Bravos Blade Dancer. This is a pretty common card right here. It's a 1/3 for 0/0/0. Sounds crappy, but what did I mention earlier? Seasoned. I keep my boost when I go to the reserve. We like that. So if you are able to play, which you can, if you play out of your hand or out of your reserve, it gains 1 boost. Tap your hero, it's going to gain another boost. So it's going to go to your reserve as a 2/2/2 for a 1-drop, which is really good. It's actually better than the Ratatasker. Play it out of your reserve, it's going to gain another boost. Maybe you tap your hero again to give this another boost. Now for 3, we got 4s across the board, which is even to your Ratatasker. And as far as strength goes, and as far as mana goes, they're both 1/3, so it's excellent. Cheap, inefficient cost cards that we can play out of our hand and also out of reserve at a very good cost. I like that ratio for the 1/3s. Pretty good there. We also have 3 copies of the Haven Trainee. It's a 2/4 for a 3/1/1. But out of your reserve, we have I gain 2 boosts when I get to play out of your reserve. We like that because that turns all of this into a 5/2/2, which is pretty significant. Very hard to beat that for a 4-drop as far as power and as far as mana cost goes. Pretty good there. We also have 3 copies of Chiron. He's a 2/2 for a 1/1/1. Not the greatest card, but if you play him out of your hand or out of your reserve, target character gains in a boost. Remember, we want anything that's going to boost something up, so we have that ability to just constantly tap our hero to gain that additional value for the boost. This card right here would probably be the number 1 3 copies to go if you had 3 really good unique cards, right? I would easily pull this right out of the deck and then slide 3 unique cards that are definitely going to be much better than this. But again, I just don't know what your situation is. So just for the sake of building a proper deck, I put this in there. So again, I'm giving you guys that flexibility. Other things we have in here are the 3 rares of the Bravos Vanguard. I love this, I love this card a lot. It goes good pretty much in just about every Bravos deck you build. If you're building a Kojo and Boda deck, it belongs in there. If you're building this deck, it belongs in the Bassira deck as well. Why? It's a 3/3 for a 4/2/2. You may have another target character lose fleeting and gain 1 boost. It would be good for the Bravos Tracer if you're building a Koda and Boda deck, but even just losing that fleeting and gaining another boost. So this card's going to gain a boost, which then allows you to tap your hero. And again, you play this out of your hand or out of your reserve, you're going to get this ability. Why is that losing fleeting so good? Well, let's say, for example, you have boosted up your Bravos Blade Dancer significantly, right? You played it out of your reserve for 3. It's a 5/5/5 across the board, right? And you had, let's say, hypothetically, you haven't tapped your hero yet. Well, you play Bravos Vanguard, that card's going to lose that fleeting, and you're going to actually be able to tap your hero, and then maybe you give another boost to your Blade Dancer or your Bravos Vanguard, depending on where you play him in your expedition zones, on your hero, or on your companion side. Something like that is pretty significant. Any card, really, for example, right? Haven Trainee gains 2 boosts when you play it out of your reserve. That's a 4-drop, so that becomes a 5/2/2. Maybe you play the Bravos Vanguard, and now you actually get to lose that fleeting that's on Haven Trainee. Ratatasker is another good combo piece, right? He gains 3 boosts when he comes out of your reserve. Well, he's going to gain fleeting for that. So maybe you want Ratatasker to lose fleeting. Really, the card you really want to aim for is obviously the one that's seasoned, of course. But again, all these other cards are really good combo pieces with it, and allows your cards to stay on the board a little bit longer. So you can get that additional value of boosting your cards. As long as your opponent doesn't remove them, it becomes a very big problem. And the only deck so far that I've seen that has significant removal is the Yasmir deck. Or is it Muna? It's one of those 2 decks. If I got it wrong, you guys can correct me in the comments section. The other cards we have too, we have Haven Bouncer for a 3/3 2/2/2 across the board. It has Sabotage, which we like. This is the rare version, of course. So it has Sabotage, which we like. And if you play out of your reserve, this is why I went with the rare copies, because if you play out of your reserve, you gain 2 boost. First off, Sabotage, very underrated ability. There's a lot of cards in Altered that pretty much take the top card, that basically resupply, or other cards that just say, you know, when you play me, take the top card of your deck, or take a card in your hand, put it in your reserve. There's a lot of also ways to kind of, you know, people want to manipulate that reserve area a lot in this card game. So Sabotage, very underrated, but then to get that additional value of playing it out of your reserve to gain 2 boost is pretty significant. I like this card a lot. Also, too, we have 2 copies of just a regular common version of Sun Wukong. He's a 3/4 for a 2/4/2. Play him out of your reserve, he gains 2 boost. Again, pretty straightforward, just like the Haven Trainee. Now we're going to get into our win conditions a little bit here. So this is where I took the deck in a little more fun, a little more outside the box thinking. I did go with 1 copy of the generic Atlas. He's a 5/5 for a 3 across the board. He does have Gigantic, so if you play him in your hero zone, you're going to get his same stats on your expedition zone. Then we went with the 2 copies of the rare version Atlas for a 5/5 3 across the board. Same thing, Gigantic, but the thing with this one, with the rare version, he does have Seasoned. Seasoned is excellent for Atlas because, again, he's Gigantic. So if you're able to boost him on his first turn and play him again, you can pretty much just play him on one side of your board and gain all that additional bonus of, like, if you just boost him once or twice and he leaves, he's going to either be a 4 across the board or 5 across the board. And you can play him again for 5 and get 5 on both sides. Pretty significant. The last rare I went with, and you guys already seen it, is Asmodeus. The reason why I went with him is just, it's a fun card. I like this card to be in the deck for an out-of-faction rare. He's a high value, high big body cost. And the reason why I went with him is because both abilities here are fantastic. So he's a 6/6, 5 across the board, roll a dice. On a 4+, he's going to gain Anchored. Fantastic. On a 1 through 3, he's going to gain 3 boost. also fantastic. We like both of those abilities, all right? We don't have anchored in this deck really at all. So if you get Asmodeus to get anchored, that's great. If you only get him for 3 boosts, that's also great. Then you can boost him up again, and then it's going to be very hard for your opponent to deal with that. So those are all the characters. Now let's get into the spells. The first spell we went with is Helping Hand, 3 copies, 1/2. Target character gains a boost, we love it, and loses fleeting, we also love it. Again, season cards. If those cards come out of your reserve and they're already well seasoned, you want them to lose fleeting. This is a great card to do that with, especially it's a 1/2, very cheap, easily I think one of the best spell cards for Bravos. The other card we went with is, of course, our only way of removal. We went with 3 copies of Intimidation. It's a 2/2. Return target character or permanent with a hand cost of 4 or less to its owner's hand. Pretty much the only way you have removal in Bravos is that. And then, of course, we went with 3 copies of Physical Training because, obviously, target character gains 3 boost. We love that a lot. That's very significant in a deck that obviously wants to boost. For your permanents, this is where we get a little interesting with the permanents here. The first permanent we went with is the rare Keylon Cylinder. This is the out of faction rare. It's a 1/1 and it has tap, I gain 2 Keylon counters. Tap, spend 1 of my Keylon counters. The next character you play this turn gains 1 boost. I like that. I don't think it's 100% necessary in this deck, but I do like it as far as just permanents go because those permanents just kind of stay there and people often forget about them. You can just tap it to gain 2 counters. The next turn you're boosting stuff, then you're tapping your hero to boost more stuff. That's a good little combo engine piece that you can see that can get going in a hurry. And then the last one we went with is the Haven Bravos Bastion. This is a 2/2. Your characters have, out of your reserve, I gain 1 boost. Now, quick little disclaimer, the rare version of this has resupply. I would highly recommend taking a look at that one and seeing if that's something you would want. I did mention we don't have a lot of things that allow you to do draw engines or take cards out of your hand and put them in your reserve. The rare version of this one would absolutely allow you to do that, and if you had 2 copies of your rare version of this card put into this deck and you can resupply twice with it, I do think it is worth taking a look at, or at the very least sideboarding the rare version of the Haven Bravos Bastion. I think it's a great card. That's the deck itself. Here are the stats for this deck. You guys can see how it all breaks down. I love that Altered TCG does this for us, so you guys can see how the hand cost and your reserve cost looks like. I think it's a well-balanced hand versus reserve cost. Out of your hand, we have a lot of highs, 2s and 3s, no 4s, a little bit of 5 and 6 being the Atlas and the Asmodeus. But out of your reserve cost, it gets even more balanced. We have a couple of 1s, but we have a good amount of 2s and 3s, and then we finally get a couple of 4s in there, as well as 5 and 6 being the same thing again, Atlas and Asmodeus. For your attributes, you're very heavy in your forest, medium in your mountain, and very weak on your ocean. So again, if maybe you have a good unique ocean cards, or maybe if you want to just balance that out, again, you guys can obviously do that yourselves, but just know that that's where you're going to be at your weakest. 9 spells, 6 permanents, 24 characters, and I only have 16 out of 39 owned cards, which is why you see the not illegal, because you have to actually own these cards to be illegal, so you can actually take this deck and put it into Board Game Arena, which is excellent that they actually allow you to do that. Now, for the end of this video, like I said, I'm going to show you guys 3 unique cards, or 3 unique example cards, that if you have these type of cards in this deck, that can definitely give this deck some much needed firepower. The first unique example that I want to show you guys is the Foundry Armor. It's a 4/4 for a 3/3/1. The reason why I'm showing you this out of faction unique rare is for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a very good card, as it says right here. Play it out of your hand to your reserve, target character gains 1 boost. I like this bottom ability right here. If you had a card that had something like this on the bottom, whether it be Ordris or whether it be from Axiom, and it had the Bravos symbol, and you can put it in a Bravos deck like this, I do think this deck would be a much needed card. I think this card would be much needed in this deck. When a character you control gains 1 or more boosts, create a brass bug. If this was, you know, an Ordris out of faction, but it had the Bravos symbol and it had create a 1/1/1 Ordris token or something like that, that's excellent. Making more tokens would give you more bang for your buck. I also like the 2 that has the, target character gains a boost. It's a 4/4. This does everything this deck wants to do and then some, being why it's such a cool unique. If you had a card like this as a unique with the Bravo symbol, this would obviously be a candidate to slide into this deck. Another unique example I have here is the Bravos Tracer. Now, originally I did not put Bravos Tracer in this deck at all. I do think, however, Bravos Tracer would be good for a sideboard because it is a very powerful card, like especially the rare version or even the common version. But I didn't think it was needed in a Bassira deck that's trying to boost a lot. So, but if you had a unique Bravos Tracer that read like this, 3/2, 3/1/4, obviously gains fleeting, but you may put a card from your hand in your reserve if you do. Up to 2 target characters each gain 2 boost. That is a really powerful unique. If you had an example like this in your collection, I definitely think it would be belonged in a Bravos deck like that. I like the Bassira deck that I built. The last thing, and also too, by the way, 314, it has 4 in the ocean, which is something that we are lacking heavily in, and firepower in the ocean. This would actually correct it as well a little bit. So I definitely think a card like this would be needed. The last example I have is Mulan. It's a 2/4/0/3/4, and again, keyword example. But this card says when you play it, your reserve target character gains 2 boost. Love it. At dusk, if I have one or more boost, I lose fleeting. Again, another card that says I lose fleeting. So if you play it out of your reserve, it's going to gain those boosts, which means at dusk, this will lose fleeting for you if you played it already out of your reserve. But don't forget your hero. Anytime you boost anything, you can tap your hero and gain this, have this card gain a boost or something like that. So there's a lot of ways to just kind of manipulate this as well. And also too, the reason why I also put this in here is a 0/3/4, and another has that 4 ocean again, so you have a little more buff in your ocean, making your stats a little more balanced, because you kind of want that across the board. You don't want 2 things to be really good and 1 really sucking, because when you do come across an ocean zone, you're gonna struggle to get that, to gain either your hero or your companion crossing over that threshold. So that's the entire deck in and of itself. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, please comment down below. If you made it this far, please do me the big favor. Hit that like button if nothing else. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. This is a channel dedicated to all things, all TCG, all the time. So if you're a cardboard junkie like myself and so many others, if you like altered TCG content, you're at the right channel. If you like Star Wars Unlimited content, you're at the right channel. You like Pokemon, you like One Piece, all that kind of stuff. We do it here on this channel. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.